Welcome to the Mr. Chill Snowflake Primetime Extravaganza Spectacular Special.
Well, Chill thinks it's his own show now, apparently. Welcome to the Professional Triers. I'm here with Brian, and we're starting a whole new, segment, I guess, Brian. We're doing the,
sure.
We're calling them the Zoom Room, the xLights Zoom Room Heroes. And our first one is Ron, who has probably saved everybody listening to this at least once when their stuff doesn't work. So, welcome.
As everybody had successful shows, we're good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys, and love the content, and looking forward to seeing all the rest of the heroes come out here. Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited to hopefully get everybody that's always helping in the Zoom room and let everybody who gets help actually learn a little bit about the people that are helping them, because I know when I've been in there for help in the past, you don't have time to conversate really. You're helping people all the time, and you guys have shows, you guys do stuff, and I think people need to learn about you guys. So we're going to try to get everybody who's willing. I know some people aren't always willing, but we're going to try to get everybody. So this should be a really good segment.
Some camera shy people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is true. And, this time of year, sometimes we do get some open time, so there's been more conversation this time of year, but certainly when it gets mid-year, that July, into certainly coming into August, September, get ready for Halloween, it just gets all business, and it's just kind of hard to really get to know people. So
yeah.
Love the opportunity to kind of help share a little bit of our stories, where we come from, and why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I'm really excited to do this. I think Brian's excited about it too.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get into a little bit about yourself, Ron. Tell everybody who Ron Armstrong is.
Never met him.
Here's a guy.
I'm Ron Armstrong. I'm an active Zoom room helper, been very active over the last 12, 13 months probably. I've been hanging out in the room for a couple of years, mostly, listening and learning like everyone else that comes in to get help, and learning from all the entire community, and figured I had some time, so I stepped up into more of an active role this year and really took charge. And don't want to tell you how many thousands of hours I spent in that room this last year or so, but definitely another full-time job for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's so many people that can't do their show without that room.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
And we're very glad to help and very glad to be there. And it's interesting to hear everybody's stories and some of the unique challenges that some people might bring due to their show. And it's been an awesome experience to kind of get to know so many lighting enthusiasts that we have.
I know I definitely used it like the entire year of 2018, even on into my show. I had help elsewhere and in xLights, or the Zoom room, and it was awesome.
I still randomly will drop in for this random working on this drive-thru. Why doesn't this work? Oh, I'm going to go in here and ask them. And usually within 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, I should have known that.
It's the gee whiz question,
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that little refresher, right? It's something you already know, but maybe you haven't messed with it for a year or some time.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just need to get another viewpoint in somebody else's eyes looking at the problem to really pinpoint where it's at, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sure. The Zoom room is not just for new people. There's plenty of people that have been doing this for years, and then all of a sudden you got so much going on, you're putting up all these crazy props, and you're like, why didn't this work? And you can't think of it at a time, and you could go into the Zoom room and just have a small conversation and be like, oh, yeah, I must have forgot that. And then you're up, you're gone, and you're good.
I knew that.
That's why sometimes I'm embarrassed that when I go in there for a 5-minute thing and it was a duh thing, you definitely should have known this, JR. I do know it. I just forgot it at the time. And I don't think anybody should be embarrassed of that too. If you've been in this for 10 years and you forgot something, go into the Zoom room. Nobody's going to judge you because you asked a question that was everybody should know that, because everybody knows there's stress and drama and people forget the important things sometimes. And you guys are always there to help anybody, which is amazing.
Yeah, and they bring a great point. Some other mediums where people might go to get help for various social media sites and whatnot, sometimes there is that, hey, that's a dumb question because it's been asked 100 times before. Why don't you do your own research, right? But we don't do that in the Zoom room. We're all very accepting. It doesn't matter if you just heard about us or if you've been doing it for 10 years, like Jared said. It's like, doesn't matter. Just come on in and hang out, listen, learn, and like myself, I decided to start giving back in a bit of a pay it forward kind of model, right? So I got a lot of help out of the guys in the room, so just thought I'd do my part to be a good community member and pay it forward.
Oh, heck yeah.
And I think majority, if not everybody, really appreciates everything you guys do. It's amazing. So I know where you're from, but let's let everybody else know. Where are you from, Ron?
Yeah, let's just get right into it. So I'm from Kansas City. I'm on the east side of Kansas City, right by the stadium, a little bit east of that, but right in the middle of the country. Been here pretty much my whole life. Lived a couple of spots for college elsewhere, but this has kind of been my home for a good number of times. So right in the Midwest.
Go Chiefs!
Yeah.
Go Chiefs!
Yeah, Brian.
Are you a homie?
I date back to Steve DeBerg.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
So yeah,
good.
I actually my mom, brother, and sister all live up in Olathe, and I graduated from Manhattan High School, K-State town. So I'm not a Jayhawk, and that's where I joined the Air Force from, and then I left and haven't been back since. Well, to visit,
I can't hear you anymore. I think you're going to get disconnected. What you're breaking up there.
I don't know if you have that power, but I do. Congrats!
I won't tell you where I come from. But anyway,
congrats on the Jayhawks for the NCAA.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I did attend KU in Lawrence, Kansas. Jayhawk, KU is my alma mater. Studied electrical and mechanical engineering. Did not decide to do that as my professional hobby. Got into computer and IT work. So I'm an IT professional. Classically, for many years, been like an infrastructure architect working in data centers, all data center technologies. Current role was more like a storage management consultant. I work for a large-scale enterprise storage company, and I support a global customer with way too much storage to talk about, but they're all over the world. And we can talk for days on that, but our audience probably doesn't want to hear that. But so networking and technology and that kind of stuff has been just by nature for so many years. And truthfully, I started working with Raspberry Pis like in 2014 and other projects and stuff. But we'll talk a bit more about how I got into the hobby and everything. So it just kind of came natural to me, this hobby, the technical side of it. The artistic side, the sequencing, that's not my strength. There are so many other people out there that do that so well. Yep. So that is not my strength, but I try to swim in my lane and the things I know. But
it's a hot mess when I try to do anything on xLights sequencing. So mapping, Brian, I can map, but that's it.
Brian, you didn't make it out to the Heartland.
No, I didn't make it out this year.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure this, but Ron built like a board just to show people how to do it. Like he had a big, like 3 foot by 3 foot thing with like wireless and like pies and like how everything hooked up. Like I would have thought you were like a trainer at a company or a teacher or something. The way you did your class, the way you present your stuff is so good. Like it was awesome. And that you made that and you had like the demonstration of all that stuff. I was very impressed.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it was just a piece of 2 by 2 foot plywood. Got a couple of different travel routers on there, so the Wi-Fi travel router. So we set up the room that we were in for the Heartland Mini is a nice clubhouse in the neighborhood, beautiful facility. They don't have any internet or networking ability in that room, so obviously what we do requires that. So I put that together. I always have like a test bench laid out and working. Some people in the Zoom room have seen my dining room table, otherwise known as my test bench. So I do live alone. I'm an empty nester that does live alone. So I can have wires and crazy little light stuff all over the house and P10 panel hanging up in the kitchen. And
I have a little 10 by 10. I have a little 10 by 10 man cave. You got an entire house.
I got
Well, now don't be talking about my house because it may only be 12 by 12, but no.
Hey, that's still.
No, it's a nice house.
I was just in Kansas City. There's no way your house is that small. I saw giant houses.
I don't live in that neighborhood. My house is what I've downsized a couple of times over my life as I've grown, and it's what I need, so it's perfect, right? So
cool.
But on the board, we just had travel routers. I had 2 different travel routers, so we set up some networking stuff and a network switch. Colt K8 was mounted on that board with a receiver, and it's just a nice little demonstration board as well if you do get any talks. And I'd like to say thanks, JR, for all the kind words. I don't do a lot of training now. I've done a little bit of training in the past, but part of my job as a consultant is just OJT. I mean, I'm sitting there consulting and kind of mentoring and coaching people all day, every day. So it's just something that I've learned how to do fairly well. So it's nice to be acknowledged for that. So thanks for kind words.
It was amazing. You did a great job with it.
Good.
Like I could have stayed in there longer. I know they booted you to do the raffle, but it could have been a lot longer. Like it was good.
So it's a nice event, and I love how it comes together. It is short for the class periods. We try to keep it like 15 minutes with like a 10-minute in between, because those minis are as much about the networking and the people and making connections in your local areas as it is about the content, right? You can get the content in a lot of different ways in a lot of places. But it's just really nice to meet the people. Also, I will say I've offered up to the Heartland Mini group. I posted recently, we are holding a Zoom call this upcoming Tuesday night to kind of even get even more deeper into FPP for those people that still had questions that went unanswered, and also we're just trying to follow up with that so that everybody who has an interest and would like to know more about FPP, because that was my subject matter in that mini. So we're going to do that Tuesday night. Anyone who wants to join, but this will probably air after that. So
yes,
your listeners probably won't.
But I'm sure you can post it in there, right?
It's already posted in the Heartland Mini group. It's already posted. Again, event created, got a Zoom set up, so we're ready to go. We got several people that asked for more content, so we just
record it.
Together. Okay, maybe.
Just record it and put it up in the Heartland Mini for people to reference later.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch this. Could go.
So on the minis, there's so much great recorded content already out there, right? And like in the Zoom room, one of the things we comment on is when you're looking for help and advice and following other videos or content, pay attention to when it was created. If it is something that is older than a year, then it's likely still great content, but the way you do things might be quite different. Mm-hmm. You know, with the rapid development that xLights and FPP and then the whole hobby takes, things change pretty rapidly. So content from 2 years ago may still be relevant, but just know that there may be some better, smoother, easier methods that are more common. So just pay attention to the content you're using for research and make sure it's fairly recent for the most up-to-date realities.
Yeah, that's for sure. Even, I don't know, even like 6 years ago, it still rapidly like changed. And I was setting up a mega tree off an older video, and I screwed it up big time. Like, big time.
Well, see, what I tell people, because I deal with a lot of new people coming into the hobby because they reach out. And what I tell them is, and my go-to is Can of Spader Christmas. When I started in 2018, Jeff Lacey is awesome. He's got that kind of personality for YouTube. And it helps you follow along, or he helps it with it. And I start at the beginning because there's still pertinent information there, but make sure you go through the entire progression of his videos, because you get to see within a couple hours or a few hours, the progression that FPP, xLights, models, everything has progressed in just the short, 3-4 years that I've been doing it. It's progressed threefold. So, and I tell them, it still has pertinent information, but you get to see where that progression and what we've gone to now, and what we have for 22. I think we're at 9.8.
So we
where we're at now.
When Brian started. So, Ron, what
I'm
was
still-
your first year into getting into?
Yeah, great segue. So talking about how rapidly it's changed. So I first got interested. I saw Matt Johnson on Great American Christmas Light Fight. I'm sure a lot of people in this hobby kind of saw what he brought to the table. And he also did a short series of videos on YouTube. They're kind of behind the scenes and kind of how he made some of this stuff. So I was like, hey, that's really cool. I'd like to do that. Thinking that, this is way too deep for me. So I went a different avenue for a while, right? So I really didn't start getting into it until kind of late 2018. Kind of late in the season. It's kind of, I'm like, starting to get back on the xLights bandwagon, so to speak, right? So I did another project for a while with solid-state relays, hooked up the GPIOs on a Raspberry Pi, and it would process music and randomly select based upon frequency and dynamic range of the music. So it was neat, but you don't have that choreographed, that sequence effect, right?
Yeah.
So 2018 is kind of when I got back into it, kind of got real serious in 2019.
Awesome.
When I first got, really into it. And 20 kind of changed everything for everybody, but and since then, but yeah, so just the last couple of years, and just in those couple of years, things have taken such a great leap forward, and just not just the technologies, but the methods and the development that's gone into it to make things easier and better for people. I still remember, my initial struggles probably was around really wrapping my head around the differences between a port and a universe and a channel. And some references was like a universe is a port, but that's not really the truth, right? So I had a click aha moment and then really started understanding it, and that was nice. But those are some of the things that at first I thought were a little bit, had to wrap your hand around, and you just don't have to worry about those things as much these years.
Yeah, I love the fact that you technically don't even need to know what a universe is really anymore.
Exactly.
Like,
Not anymore, yeah.
if you're doing just basic stuff, there's no reason to even tell somebody there's a universe.
Exactly. It's helpful to have it's helpful to have that understanding about how they are, and also you can kind of recognize different issues that might come up. But you're right, we don't care about those things anymore. In the same way, in the computer world, we don't care about IRQs and DMA channels and dip switches on printer boards, all that stuff we dealt with on computers in those days. For those of us that are showing our gray back in the 80s and 90s, dealing with old school computers, we don't care about that stuff anymore. So, constant evolution. As things get more intelligent and smarter, you let the smart things do the smart things, right? Let computers do smart stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. So tell us something about yourself that nobody in Kansas City knows.
Well, there's a list. No, not really. We'll just stick to some other hobbies, right? So I'm way too interested in too many hobbies, right? So I spread my time thin, and fortunately last year I had a lot of time to spend to this hobby. But I'm way into vehicles. I own currently now, my fleet is depleting, so I'm down to 7 vehicles. And I think I mentioned I do currently live alone. Both of my daughters are raised and grown. But I do Jeeping. I do hardcore off-roading in Jeeps and stuff. We go to rock crawling and stuff. We got an event coming up this weekend.
Nice.
And then I've got a little bit of a sweet, C5 Corvette, little Z06, badass supercharger, methanol injected.
Nice.
A big road trip every year.
Oh, Jared, we don't need to see. We don't need to see your little.
I got mine.
Nice. Is that that's a Square Body Blazer. Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I might know
my
where
rock
there's
crawler.
a full size one of those sitting around. Yeah.
Now I'm all tangled, but yeah, that's the extent of my rock crawler.
Nice. So that it looks like I see another one up above your head back there too. Another.
No, that's parts. That's parts.
Pieces of parts.
Yeah.
I always have parts. So I do a big road trip every year too, and Hot Rod Magazine puts on this Hot Rod Power Tour. It's every summer. This year it's 5 different cities in 5 days. So we'll be doing about 3,000 miles in a week with a bunch of my car buddies driving through U.S. highways, back roads between cities, and just enjoying what this country's got to offer. Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool.
So just other hobbies to spend money on. How many years? I started doing that tour in 15. I've taken different cars. The first year I had a 29 Model A Rat Rod, pretty slick little car. Went I only did 3 days that year. I did Kansas City to St. Louis to Memphis and home. So 1,700 miles in 3 days in a very loud, obnoxious, crazy hot rods. Hip cramping up because anybody knows anything about Model A coupes, they're very small inside. But I got a cousin out in Colorado that comes through, and he's been doing it since about 2003, 2004, so a lot more years. And it's just great camaraderie. I've built so many friends I've met through the holiday lighting community. I've met similar, very close friends through the car community and stuff too. So and motorcycles. Yeah. So I've got a couple Harleys.
Fun as us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's great fun people and some dry people in every avenue in life that you cross, right?
That's a fact. That is
so true.
Yeah. And it was a great you mentioned Jeff and Candace Bader Christmas. So, that was another inspiration, right? So I kind of saw what Matt did and, so who inspired me along the way. I mean, there's so many people. But Candace Bader does great content, I believe, in there. And I review back to his videos regularly, miss his content. I know he's been extremely busy.
Jeff, we miss you.
Yeah. Yeah. Love to meet you. If I had to pick, whose displays where I'd like to go see, there's a long list of that. There are so many amazing displays around, but I think Jeff's display would be a display I really want to put on my list to go see sometime. And not just for his display content. Hey, I think it's great, but just to meet him and be able to shake his hand and say, hey, thanks for inspiring so many people out there and putting out the content that he has.
Yeah, that's a fact. I would love to. And I tried to get him in 2019. I tried to get him to come up to the Heartland because that was the first year for the Heartland. And I tried so hard to get him up there, but he's got a lot going on. I think his last one, he's still looking for a house because he wanted to get out of town a little bit, I think. So I don't know where haven't heard anything from him since. So
but when he gets a new place, could you imagine how good his content's going to be?
Oh, gosh.
It's going to be like him building all over again, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And another great inspiration and kind of where I got started and all that, I'll tell you, is JR had a chance to meet this guy in the Heartland Mini and got to taste his amazing vittles, his lunch. So another community member, Dallas Rose. Yeah, so Dallas is in the same town I'm in. He's about 4 or 5 miles from me. So in 18, after his show, he had kind of put out a little message on Facebook, because I follow him on Facebook as well, too. Hadn't met him at this point. And said, hey, if anyone's interested, wants to see how the show works, what's going on, I'm going to rent this room, and on this day at this time, come hang out and kind of see what makes it tick. Right, so I got to meet Dallas and a couple of other local community members. Lowell was there. So Dallas and Lowell were the ones I keep in touch with regularly. Yeah, and great. And I've sampled some of his food before and knew that it was going to be great. So it was amazing.
Yeah, and I am so jealous because
so mad about that.
For the last 3 years, I've been the same thing. We're on Facebook and back and forth and stuff, and he's always asking when I'm coming to town. When am I going to Mom's house? And every time there's always something else going on, and I miss out on his cooking and now it's cater service, the stuff that he does. And I finally got to meet him actually at Troun's World. What?
It was so good.
Shut up. So
he and I carpooled to Trans World in 19, so we got to spend some road time together too. It's about 3.5 hours from our area.
Oh,
so
I know.
We spent some road time together, carpooling back and forth too.
My brother and I did the drive to Trans World from Olathe last year, 21. So yeah, it was. I have forgotten I-70, and I didn't slice my ankles, but I sure wanted to.
Wait, Brian. You were complaining about a 3.5 hour drive?
Yeah, that's the I-70 drive.
It takes me 6 hours to get to David. It takes 7 hours for David to get here.
That's more scenic. You have more to look at other than field. Oh, look, there's another field.
Been down Highway 5?
No, the 5.
Yeah, we have. everything everybody else has. We have.
I watched your car.
Nothing on it. Yeah, you did.
I watched your car on cameras at nighttime on 5. That was it.
Right. We need to stop telling people how weird you are.
Anybody can get on that site. You just got to know where to look. Anyways, but
I'm sorry. I'd argue that the drive across Kansas going to Colorado on I-70, as boring as that drive is, that is a much better drive than the drive between Kansas City and St. Louis on I-70, if you ask me.
When I got stationed up here, my first trip home was I went all the way down to Denver, and then I took I-70 all the way across. Mm-hmm. And slow, because you could only go 70 on it. But it was much better than that 3.5-hour drive because, I mean, I stopped in Salina. I stopped in Manhattan. I'd looked up a couple old friends in Manhattan and stuff. So, I mean, I had a purpose to take it, but that was the one and only time I took 70. I take 80 now because it's so much faster.
I don't know how Brian and driving.
Yeah. 80's not bad, but it's, you know, and even though the speed limit might be 70 or 75 in spots, right? But it's, you know, maybe 5 overs. Okay. I'm not advising or condoning.
We shouldn't give out driving tips.
I'm not
We're barely qualified to give out lighting tips.
when it's so dark 30, I mean, you know, if your foot gets a little heavy to make up some extra time, you know.
Maybe not that. Anyway.
The cars you have, it's harder to go slow.
Well, you know, it's so I'm into the 0 to speed limit short at times.
Yeah.
So 0 to speed limit, but never over speed limit, right?
You get to the speed real fast.
I do not condone breaking any laws.
There you go.
But speed limits might be infractions, not laws. But anyway, we won't go there. Oh, geez.
Well, I think it's time we get to our speed round.
Speed round.
Yep, that's when you go through everything you have on your house as fast as you can. Basically,
controllers, pixels.
Okay, full disclosure, I support a lot of shows. So in speed round, do we want to count in other shows as well, or just my own personal on my house show? Because this is going to be short.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you
want.
Right.
If you want to say you help out on 5 different shows and in total they have this, then by all means.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got a very short little intro sound because apparently Chill is taking the day off on this one. But and then once it's done, just start going.
All right. I have 4 Falcon and Colt controllers, probably 4 Colt controllers and 1 Falcon controller for my show. Number of pixels on my house varies year by year. I do a small show in my house, about 1,500, where I support the show is probably about 100,000 pixels total across a couple of different shows, including a small AC show. In Iowa, 3.5 hours away. I'm mostly a 12-volt pixel kind of person. Pigtails X-Connect for me. Software scheduler, I use FPP. Xschedule is fantastic, but I use FPP. And other useful hardware is on remote shows. I deploy little travel routers, specifically by GLINet. They have multiple models. I can put one of those routers at a remote show, set up a VPN, and have full access to the remote show from my home. Hopefully that was quick enough.
Yep, that was awesome. All right, so now I need to know, what are these other shows? Because they sound pretty awesome.
All right, so absolutely. So the best one I'm going to talk about, the others are other people's shows, and you know, I've lent a hand occasionally to Lowell here locally, right? And he does all Alphabix controllers today. It's currently Holiday Coro as well, which are great controllers and all. So sometimes they get a bad rap in the community, but they've worked excellent for Lowell.
I still got one.
Yeah. So the most remote show that I'm very proud of. So a gentleman bought a Falcon controller from David Pitts and then called him up and said, I don't even know where to begin. Where do I get help? Well, David helped bring him into the Zoom room. So many of the Zoom room people jumped on this show. So this gentleman is a chaplain at an elderly convalescent home about 30 minutes outside of Des Moines, Iowa. It's about 3.5 hours from home. And they'd had a horrible year. The residents got displaced from the home, of course, COVID, all that kind of stuff. And he just wanted to do some sort of Christmas for the house. He bought all these AC lights, LED lights, and started building AC trees and stuff before he really knew about pixels. So I actually drove up and spent 2 days with him. Several other community members donated gear. Another gentleman out of Omaha, John Larson, drove over for a day as well. So this was like the beginning of November, by the way. So we had about a 30-channel AC show set up, and I managed that all remotely, and that whole town, that whole community was just beaming from it. I still keep in touch with that gentleman. Marshall is his name. Super good guy. Met him and his wife. His wife started doing the AC sequencing in Dixon, and they didn't really know anything about it, just trying to figure it all out on their own. So I had to figure out how to do like channel mapping and stuff in Dixon, and we exported to an FSEQ file and played it on FPP. So a couple other great community members made donations. I know I'm going to miss the list, so I can't go into all of them, right? But for fear of leaving everybody out, but there were some Pixel sticks. We did wireless and DMX out on Pixel sticks, FPP wireless to Pixel stick with DMX out to drive lower AC controllers, and one Lynx Express. So we had lower AC and Lynx Express is what we did for that show.
Wow.
Worked wonderfully.
Wow, that's wow.
Yeah, and following up with him, around the Christmas time and everything. So they unfortunately had a COVID outbreak at the home. So like their other Christmas festivities kind of, got canceled, and a lot of family visits were, short or just non-existent. So that show ended up being one of the only bits of the Christmas spirit that community had that year. Yeah.
Wow.
So, look at this. Everybody listen here. Ron spends all this time helping you guys in Zoom, but then also goes out of his way to help other people actually physically put up everything.
I have done a fair bit of that. Absolutely.
You see the people that like help you guys, like these guys are amazing. Like the stuff they do, the hours they spend in that room, that's I can't thank you enough for everything you do. I'm sure everybody in the community, that's amazing. That is so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I made so many people happy at that place.
Absolutely.
And everything.
Yeah, and we chatted for a brief moment too about like, awkward, have you had any awkward experiences, with visitors or whatever from the show, right? So I don't know that I've had any of those, but I will share one of the most heartfelt, right? So those couple of days up there in the back room at this convalescent home, back in the administrative hallway is where we're kind of assembling, and Marshall had these ideas to make snowballs. He just took like chicken wire and just wound up chicken wire and wrapping white lights around them. So we had trees and snowballs and a manger scene is what it shows. Very simplistic show by most of our standards, but there's this sweet old lady in a wheelchair that kept coming down the hall, checking on us, making sure everything was going well, and that. So when we first got technically things operating and had a little portable stereo, kind of like a little old school little ghetto blaster kind of, little portable stereo thing, right? So we had sound playing through that, and she kind of got wheeled out onto the back patio where the show was set up, and we had like Sleigh Ride, I think it was, or something, that song. And she was just kind of dancing and boogieing in her little chair and clapping her hands to watch these lights go flashy, flashy, blinky, blinky, and it was just, it was one of that moment right there. And this was just last year, right? I've had so many moments like that. That moment right there explains exactly why all of us do what we do and try to bring joy and cheer to anyone who would like to see it, right? And that was an amazing moment. Personally, it touches you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's worth using everything. All the hours working on it, everything. That's
yeah. And we're a whole community of givers. I mean, all of the Zoom, I don't call it Zoom Room heroes at all, but just the Zoom Room helpers, right? People, because we're not heroes. Some people might think that, but okay. So we're just a community of givers, right? I mean, that's kind of, I think, why a lot of people do shows and content, because they want to bring joy. They want to give back to people and bring, and we're just I really love this community and how giving and how caring the community seems to be. Anyway.
Very awesome. Yeah,
it is. I think everybody doing lights 95% of them are doing it for the joy that it brings to everybody else. And when you got a bunch of people doing that, and when they're all working together, we could do some pretty amazing stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That project, that's awesome.
It was a neat thing to be a part of, to be honest with you. It really was. And then just to see, there's probably at least a dozen people that got that contributed in one way or another, whether it's extra extension cords, whether it was the lower controllers to get the AC stuff running, because obviously I will run off of a Falcon Pixel controller, and time, and another active Zoom Room helper that does some sequencing as well. He actually sequenced 3 songs to AC to their show, and another guy put together. We had pictures of the layout, so he put together the actual xLights layout, and we left that with them so they can convert to xLights and do future and continue to grow that layout. So there was a lot of great help from people that happened to be in Zoom Room accidentally that night and said, hey, I can send some extension cords I got left over or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, like why we wanted to do this so bad too, is like people go in there for help all the time, but they don't know everything you guys do.
Yeah.
And the fact that everybody in that Zoom room got together to make this happen for some guy that just bought a Falcon controller and had no clue what he was doing. And you guys all got together and made it happen.
He had a nice story, and when you talk about like what's it for, right? It's not for him to put up lights on his house to please his neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean, we all got here because of our ancestors and our elderlies, right? So gotta respect the elderly.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Produce children to leave behind so they can grow up and respect us hopefully someday when we're there.
Yeah. Sure.
I couldn't see me out there directing. I would. You're doing it all wrong. I wouldn't be nice. What would say is your most popular or your most favorite prop, looking at the shows that you've done or what you've helped out on?
Yeah, there's so many great props and things out there. I personally am I really like mega trees and mini trees and kind of all that working together, right? I know that sounds pretty simple and all that. And I historically, personally, have not done a ton of Coro. A couple of shows I've assisted with or helped out with. Obviously, I have a lot of Coro props and all, but just kind of like, probably mega trees and mini trees if I had to pick something, all that. I think they are great bang for the buck and have, they can be expensive, right? So, but what you can get out of them, have them, and the types of effects and stuff that they can do on your show, the kind of impact they have to the show, I think is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. I agree, but it's also the amount of real estate a tree or a mini tree takes up and the stuff you could do on it. It's pretty amazing. Like for 3 years, the only pixel thing I had in the orchard was a mega tree. I had 100,000 LEDs, but only one pixel thing was a mega tree, and that wowed people like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take much. It takes more to, I guess, wow the fellow people in the lighting community, but your neighbors and everybody else, it don't take much. They'll be impressed.
And that's you keep that in mind, right? Because we get so many people in Zoom and they're like, well, this is just not quite perfect, right? It's almost perfect. But I'm like, 99% or better of your viewers are going to be such an awe of what you do. Don't be overly anal about everything being 100% every show run, right?
Yeah.
You got one pixel that's still blue. There's a mini bulb somewhere in Kansas City. I think it's actually in Nebraska. There's a mini, a singing bulb with one blue pixel in it somewhere in Nebraska. I can't really say where.
But a mini.
And if you have a pixel that's out, of course replace it, get it fixed and all, but don't sweat over it, right? It's still going to be an amazing show with or without 1 or 2 pixels.
Nobody needs to stress about that stuff. We were in Florida. We went to Epcot. There was a pixel out on the Epcot ball Like there was a pixel going red. Of course, we all noticed. The 100,000 other people, but all of us went, "Hey, that pixel's out." Like we were all proud, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw that."
and always also remember, for your audience, always remember that you are your own worst critic.
Oh yeah, that's a fact.
No matter what, right? So no one else is going to complain about that pixel being out unless you have a bunch of lighting enthusiasts at Epcot pointing at it all the same time.
See, and I still got I got two mega trees, and I pushed them out further out in the yard, so they're about 100 feet off the road now. And on each of them, I have a pixel that's just red, and it's red all the time. And I'm like, I'm not changing that out because it looks like a security camera. I'm leaving it. I don't get messed with.
No, that works.
That works perfect.
I think I'm going to build a single pixel prop, and I'm going to turn it red full time and always leave it on.
Yeah, it looks like a security camera
model. Yeah, it has a single pixel model. Which pixel is that corner? Is
You're being watched.
That's pixel 97 on the garage corner. Yeah.
Hey, maybe that's what it was on the Epcot ball. Maybe it was a
there you go.
Not a bad pixel. We all assumed it was a bad pixel.
Did it follow you everywhere you went?
No. That's a good.
So, since we're talking about security with your neighbors, what do your neighbors think?
So I keep things very purposely. I keep things pretty low key at my house, right? So I live in the neighborhood, and everyone's very cool in my neighborhood. I got a couple of neighbors I don't know, but I know both of them and all. And so I don't try to drive too much traffic to my personal show, right? And there are some Decembers, like this past December, everybody's going to chastise me. I did not put up a show at my house this past December. Ooh. Ooh. So it's okay to go dark if you need to for a time around.
I have to say I am offended by your statement.
Exactly, right? But, I did a lot of other shows that I really, brought joy everywhere else. And another show, high school, one of my old Jeep buddies from Jeeping community is way into the light show. I didn't know that till this past year, actually. And he's a teacher at a neighboring town high school and the coach for the robotics team. So they put up a show at the city hall of that neighboring town. It's a suburb of Kansas City still. And so the city hall had a whole show set up and everything. And they started that at 20. They got invited because he's part of the community and everything, being a teacher and very involved in the community there in his town. And so I got to help out that show quite a bit. So I spent I was over there for one full afternoon right before go live. They were lighting the whole downtown and the Merry Christmas trees in the next block over. And they were having some FPP technical issues. And I just happened to get reconnected at the right time and showed up for an afternoon with a laptop and me and his wife. And they had a robotics competition. So all the kids are gone. So just another show that we helped out with. So that's probably 20,000 pixels or something, that show over a whole city block in front of City Hall. So I do a lot of the other big shows, but my house it is dark. I just wasn't home a lot this December. I was out with family and doing family things where we should be, right? So
yeah, no, I don't think.
But my neighbors are super cool about what I do, and like I say, I do outlines around the house and the windows, and all that's mostly what I do. I have put up a mini tree here or there from time to time, but those are now in other shows. So I keep kind of low key and make friends with the neighbors, and I'm friends with all my direct neighbors and everybody I'm walking. Everybody enjoys it so far, but again, there's a Lightorama show around the corner, like across the major road next to me and over around, and like kind of the same neighborhood but a different part of the neighborhood and all. And we just do things kind of smaller in our area so we don't overflood the traffic.
Well, I understand. See, you don't need much to be better than the Lightorama house, so that's not.
Precisely, right?
Oh, like JR apologizes for the last.
He does a nice show,
comment.
and he's got old school blow ups and stuff, or some blow ups and some blow molds and some blow ups. So I mean, it's a nice show. It's not the same as a pixel show and stuff, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, so I
can't talk too much crap about having like LEDs and blow molds and inflatables. Like I did that for a good 12, 13 years with everything.
I think there's somebody who maybe doesn't have blow molds anymore. I think he was excited about that, but anyway.
Yeah, no. Vinny, brought his last blow molds
to the garage sale at the
garage sale. But he didn't do it right because he was like, in the first announcement, he was like, "Oh, I brought these blow molds and I'm not taking them home." Well, yeah, now they're free because nobody's going to offer money and they're just going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to take them home."
Throw them in the trunk. Yeah.
I don't even know where we're on the questions, Brian. Are you keeping track?
Well, I was.
There's so much good stuff. It's like I don't even know really.
How about evolution of display, or like
well,
what do I do over again?
I was going to kind of skip that one, but I wanted to know. Well, and you've already kind of touched on it, the evolution of you getting into the Zoom room and helping out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to say if you were going to start a clean slate, or if you were going to do something spectacular at your house, what would you do? How would you do it?
I did start over at a clean slate once, right? So like I mentioned before, I've been working with Raspberry Pis on other projects for a number of years. So as I got into the hobby, I'm kind of like, okay. I tend to get involved in things that kind of go whole hog, right? I kind of go off the deep end and I get like it just becomes consuming, right? So I decided to start small. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be for me. I don't know if this is something I want to enjoy that much. So I had Raspberry Pis anyway. So I bought a Pi hat and a couple of Pis. So I got that up and running. And I originally started designing and started putting up outline on my house using like 2811 strips. And like the 3 pixel per node, where it's 3 pixels per each node. And I kind of started laying out my outline that way. And it worked really well the first year and stuff like that. But taken down, you can tell something's come loose. Strips worked well for me as long as they were in place.
And that's everybody's story. When they were up, they were great.
Don't even look at them. Wrong.
You take them down, you put them up, you take them down. The more you move them, the more you touch them, the more you mess with them, the more brittle they potentially come, right? Especially outside, UV is not the best on them, right? So I was kind of like, well, I really enjoyed that. And I as I got into it and started seeing content out there and learning and jumping in the Zoom room myself was kind of like, I had a couple of questions that got answered right away, but I just saw the other help. So I started always just hanging out, listening in and learning from others. I'm like, oh, you can do that too? Oh, cool. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know how to do that. Then, and I grew and learned so much from just hanging out in the Zoom room. But I did start all over with that. So, the next year is when I kind of got and started getting into some pulp controllers and some other controllers, getting, not trying to do super pack the ports full of pixels, right? So that first year I was also doing, power injection. And I'm like, I got a Pi hat with 2 ports. I want to get 900 pixels on it. And so had some power injection points and stuff. So I scrapped all that for my second year pretty much, right? So then I started getting into the real 12-volt bullet nodes and not being afraid to buy a larger controller with more ports and do less pixels per port and have a distributed kind of network instead of like a real centralized dense system, right? So I did start over once, and it's okay to do that if you have to, right?
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
And how I got into the Zoom room, I think we just asked that too. So I kind of answered that pretty much, right? So I was a long-time listener, first-time participant, or something like that,
right?
Yeah, no. That's cool that you started small. Like I kind of started small with just a Mega Tree, and I stuck with it for like 3 years. But I didn't even think of going to a Pi. I don't know, because what happened was I was like almost going to LOR to run all my LEDs. And I was like, well, I want to do this, and it's going to cost this. And all of a sudden I stumbled across pixels, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And whoa, it's expensive, but it's actually cheaper than if I bought like 47 strands of lights at Home Depot to build this tree with. So it was good. I think everybody goes to that. I'm going to try this, and then like, oh, this was fun. This was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the new generation of 10,000 out of the box. I don't.
No.
That's just a whole lot of headache.
I think part of that comes from the really dense props we have now, right? We have some pretty amazing props out there, right? Whether it's EFL Designs or Basoyo or GE or many of the other manufacturers, right? There's such dense props that bring a different dimension to the shows. And so it's not that hard to get 5,000 pixels on a show and feel like you don't have much of a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're doing a mega tree and outlines or maybe some smaller candy canes, I'm sure many people have been through that, buying like the Walmart candy canes and replacing the lights with LEDs, right? there was something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so, 5,000 pixels would seem like a pretty big show when that's what you do. But when you start talking about some of these huge wreaths, and just as an example, the Showstopper Snowflake, which was an amazing 750 pixels in that one prop, if you get two of those, balance it. And I mean, there's the Grand Illusion and Ice Princess and so many others, right? I can't name them all.
But Still breaks 1,000 all by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that hard. So I don't really understand like Jared said, the 10,000 first year, but I can see where it's not that hard to get there if you're trying to fill up real estate and you're doing it with high density props.
Yeah,
it would add up in a hurry. Yeah,
more controllers, more ports, more power supplies, more, right?
More problems from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Like, to me, if you're just starting out, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to build like the house outline and just tiptoe in, do a couple thousand. And then once you got that all figured out and you're not stressed out and stuff, then, all right, I'm going to add this high density prop. I'm going to add this and this and this, and then get to your 10,000. But 10,000 out of the gate, I think, is a lot of stress.
Several people have proven it's doable, but it may be more stress than you really ought to. Now, I will add that I've seen through various outlets, people are saying, I'm selling my whole show. Yep. I'm getting out of it. And there's lots of reasons for that, and it's a personal reason, and some people I know struggle with that decision. But some people I know are kind of getting out of that because they just found it to be so time-consuming or so difficult. And if they just would have started smaller and built into it, maybe they wouldn't be in that position.
Yeah, they wouldn't have gotten overwhelmed.
Yeah. There's so many layers and so many. I mean, you have to be part electrician, part networking guru. You have to be artistic. There's just so many layers to put on a show, start to finish, in a DIY hobby that it can be quite overwhelming for people, which is why people like us do what we do and help everybody out in the Zoom room, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I think we talked about evolution at the show too. So I'll tell you one thing I'm excited about coming up, right? So there's so many things that I'm excited about, but I'm looking really into interactivity. Is what that I'm kind of getting into. Had what I'm happy to call a buddy of mine, Mr. Jackie Elliott, owner of EFL Designs. We've become friends through Zoom room activities and stuff too. Got to meet him at the Heartland Mini, and a good dude. And he asked me, "Do you do a Halloween show?" And I'm like, "Well, but my nephew does a big Halloween party every year. He's building a 20-acre lake and building an event center and all that kind of stuff out of his property, and he does like hay rides and stuff." So I was fortunate enough to buy some Halloween props, and I got to be really thinking about it. I think I'm going to bring some pixel props and stuffed bats and evil clowns and ghosts and stuff like that to his Halloween party and bring some interactivity on the hay ride. So maybe have a ghost swing in and out of the tree as the tractor goes by with the event, or have a screaming clown come at you, and maybe not musically synchronized, right, but having effect sequences and then trigger effect sequences to kind of bring an element of interaction to his little Halloween party and his hayride. We'll keep it pretty low key because there's a lot of small kids and stuff that come out for that, right? Yeah. But that's really where I'm kind of evolving, and kind of, it was just like a week ago we kind of had that conversation, and it's kind of bloomed into a great idea. And I think Jackie planted that seed for me, and I'm really looking forward to see how that kind of comes out and working with my nephew and put some stuff together out there for him.
Yeah.
I think that's the future of everything, is the interactivity and moving stuff. Halloween's a tough one though. You gotta walk that line of like entertaining the adults, but not scaring the crap out of the kids.
Yeah, correct, right. there's some great haunts and stuff that are out there and all, but this will be very family friendly and that's where I think some of the Coro props for this particular use case with smaller kids will be less. I mean, it's not going to be blood and guts and like real 3D props. It'll be more like light and cool, and maybe a lighted spiders coming out of the tree, as the tractor goes by with some motors and stuff, right?
Yeah, motors are cool.
Got to put some eyes that blink.
Now I'm thinking, I was like, whoa, you put Coro on like a cable and put a little motor with a spindle on it.
Yeah.
And just enough cable so you don't have to change the direction of the motor. Mm-hmm. It just runs, and then it will drop it down, and then it would just pick it back up.
Mm-hmm. And the next operation probably reverse the motor, right? So we'll go back down, back up again, right?
So just the one sequence.
So every other will be a reverse.
Yeah.
See, I'm planting seeds, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Everybody's got some idea.
And it started at a mini. See, that's why people need to go to minis.
Yep. We say that all the time.
So JR, are you hiring? No.
Well, you do know more than Brian, so.
Oh, wait a minute now.
That's it.
No.
So, talking about this stuff and going to minis and all that stuff, if you could go to 3 displays, what 3 displays would you go check out?
Well, that's a big one. And I think I mentioned earlier, there's so many, right, that it's hard to narrow down, right? But I would have to say, and I know he's moving this year, Tom George, I think, would be a great display to go see. Absolutely. Yeah. Excited to see what he can do in his new house that he's moving into.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And I mentioned earlier Jeff Lacey from Canis Vader Christmas. I think he does a great show, but just to shake his hand and meet him and kind of have a conversation, right? I think that would be
the workshop, all that stuff. That would be amazing.
And if I were to pick a third, I'd have to find which one. But from what I've seen, I probably have to say there's several, and it's on a different continent. So I would say Daryl Collins in Australia. I would love to go visit Australia someday.
He actually does a show? I thought he just hung out in groups and just went to events. I didn't know he actually had a show.
He does a lot of that too. Great community contributor and member, and we in the Zoom room we got to watch him water his grass a lot this year because he had to plant new grass. So he always had his camera on while he's helping people. He had his camera on out there with his garden, watering his grass, whatever. And it would either be his or one of the other Australian community members if it's on a great show. I think that'd be great to be able to go over there and see some of the shows and see something and have a warm Christmas time.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, in the summertime.
His show is awesome. I just like to screw with
him. Yeah.
Especially after Lewis.
He took a little damage, in a storm not too long ago, but I think he got that pretty much squared away, all sorted.
Rumor is he had a 40-hour flight home from Florida. Yeah. So maybe we'll get him on here one day and he could tell us all about that.
Yeah.
Not sure I would hear
the
that
flight experience.
Full detail.
So what tips?
And I would imagine also, if I were to go to Australia to visit a show, that the Tim Tams would probably be significantly cheaper than having to buy them on the song.
Those were amazing.
So sorry, JR was taking a drink because I said that. But did you get some? So great, right? Way better than the Vegemite, I imagine, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was very, because I got to sample them on Friday before everybody else was there.
Yeah.
And Ron had strict rules of leave some for tomorrow. Because after I had one, I was like, yeah, I could definitely eat this whole package.
Yeah.
They are good.
I cannot confirm or deny, but it's pretty easy to eat a whole package at once. So it's not a ton of them in a package, but yeah, they're available on Amazon. It's a wonderful biscuit from Australia. Here in the States, we call them cookies, but chocolate covered goodness.
No,
wow.
Put faith back in Australian food for me.
And I was just saying my laptop battery's starting to go.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to up then.
What tips do you have?
And I can step away and grab the charger if I need to. But what tips do I have? We talked a lot about tips already. So really, start within your means, right? Don't try to overdo it first year, right? Get a sampling, dip your toe in, get some flashing and blinking going on. Seek help from your neighbors. I think a great tip is get involved with other people that do shows in the area with you, right? Like, I was fortunate enough to have run into Dallas back in 1819, like I started. And he just, was like, hey, if you have any questions, I mean, he's a very helpful guy too, right? So if you have any questions, just hit me up, let me know. And get connected with local people. Come into the Zoom room for help. Know your limitations and start within your limitations, what you're able to do, and just enjoy the ride. Biggest tip of all, enjoy the ride. Remember why we light up for Christmas, why we try to bring joy to people, and just, don't overly stress about it.
That's
very cool.
That is very sound advice right there. That is,
thanks.
That's it right there. If you're not following those rules, then
why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you're doing it to win the competition, fantastic, great. I support competition 100%, but don't let it run your life either, right? So yeah.
Yep. Don't let that be the only reason you're doing it.
Yeah, I'd like to say really, thanks to you guys for having us on. Thanks for the fun and enjoyment you guys bring to everything, and reaching out to the Zoom room and kind of help highlight some of this and kind of get to know some of the people in the Zoom room. Hopefully you get a lot more participation from the other active helpers, and we can learn more about them too.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Excellent. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get everybody.
That would be nice. Yeah,
it would be cool.
Here's part of this.
I might have to go in there at some point to get some of them and just record why we're in that room. But I'm hoping to get everybody.
Yeah.
But the stuff you guys do and how you help everybody for nothing, like you don't expect anything from anybody that comes in there and asks a question.
Nothing. I'm getting paid twice as much as last year. Oh, twice zero is still zero, right?
Still zero.
Yeah. 3 times as much work though. But
it is. It was a lot of work this last year. Yeah.
But the fact that you guys just, like, some of you, like, you're lucky enough you got a place to yourself and stuff, but some of these guys are taking time away from their family and doing all this stuff,
right.
and you're still taking time away from your family to be home, be in the Zoom room, being there to help these guys and gals accomplish their dreams for nothing. Just the fact to help these people do the stuff. It's, I don't know. We can't say enough about everything that you guys do in that room, and how you'll help from the guy who just bought his stuff yesterday to the guy who is putting up this mile-long drive-through. It doesn't matter to you guys who it is. As long as you could help them, you guys are going to help them. And it's if you haven't been to the Zoom room and you don't have go check out what actually happens in there. Even if you don't have a question.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt and try to play games or do stupid stuff in there, but go observe, and maybe you could help somebody too. If you're just working on stuff in your garage, jump into the Zoom room, because you might have had the problem that person came in there for. Take a little bit of the work off these. It's actually David Peace's idea, the hero's name, which is very fitting. It's you guys have probably saved more shows than you ever could know, because there's probably people that were in the room that might have been having the same problem somebody just brought up.
And too afraid to ask.
Yeah,
we may be helping them. Yeah, exactly. We may be helping them without actually directly interacting with them, just by them listening. And we get that all the time in there and all that.
Just following along.
Yeah, just come in and hang out. And I try to be humble, right? But I'm a big pay it forward kind of guy, right? I've gotten a lot of help. I'm very fortunate where I'm at right now and be able to do things I enjoy in all aspects of life. And every day, vertical and breathing is a great day. So why not pay it forward and help someone else out? So it's been a pleasure and a real honor to kind of work with some of these people in that room that are out there that I have, learned from over the past couple of years as well. So it's been a real pleasure. I'm proud to be part of such a giving and caring group, because we honestly care that everyone's show works as they expect, right?
Yeah, and
not works right. It just works as they expect.
Yes. Go blinky flashy. And the thing is, too, I don't think a lot of people know this. And since you're the first one on here, maybe you could kind of explain it a little bit, too. But, nobody's out there, saying like, hey, Ron, you going to cover Monday? Because I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's over there. Like, nobody runs that room. Like, except for you guys. Like, you guys just know that somebody needs to be there to do the stuff. You don't have somebody cover you or whatever. There's just, you guys know, like, to be there. There's no, like, somebody asking you to do it, whatever. It's just all, you guys volunteer whenever you can to just do cool stuff for people, to help them do what they do. And there's no, like overseeing.
There's no orchestration of it. It's just an open Zoom room that's always available 24/7. It does like reset every 30 hours or something like that. So you might get kicked out, but just come right back in if you do. No big deal. It's just a Zoom thing. But there is no set schedule. There's no orchestration of it. There is a back-end channel, communication channel that we have that for active Zoom room helpers that really is helpful for if we have tips and tricks. So, hey, look what I just ran into, and then I can share that. Just recently, Daryl down in Australia and I collaborated on a chart for smart receivers and the various combinations of version 2.0, 2.01, black, blue, white, all that jazz, right? So we put together a nice little chart, and Daryl put together a chart initially, and then there were some components that I wanted to bring to it. So we collaborated and put together a chart. We shared that like in the active Zoom room helper. So we try to help share the tips and tricks so there's some consistency, but there's no orchestration. Over time, you kind of develop, what are people's habits, and kind of like you kind of know when people might be on at different times, right? I'm a late guy, so I'm sometimes on during the day, but I'll be on there till 1 or 2 a.m. Central Time, and then I get up for work again at 7:30 the next morning. I'm just like, what am I doing?
You hear, like, these guys go to work tired just so they can hang out and help you.
Yeah.
I don't think I've dropped in that room at random times, and there's always somebody in there.
Always someone in there that's helping, right? Because there's community members and there's helpers around the clock, right? So I've gotten to know some of the Australian people a little bit because they're kind of coming in as a lot of the stateside people are going to bed because time zone difference, right?
Yeah.
So that's been real nice to kind of get to know people and talk, favorite Australian snacks and that kind of thing too. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe we put Vegemite on a Tim Tam.
Yeah. Plot how you're going to. Yeah.
So it might be sacrilege. I don't think we can do that. But
no.
But
who knows? That might be a thing they do, though.
I doubt it. But I don't know. But thanks for having us, and thanks for all the kind words about it. And you're right. It is around the clock, and it's like there is no schedule. Hey, do you have Monday? Do you have Tuesday? Just whenever you're available, you come in and you just jump in and help where you can help, right? And we all have our kind of specialties, right? Because like sequencing help is not something I'm going to jump in and help with, right? So there's plenty of other people in there helping that can do that. Yeah.
It's like what you guys do is just amazing. Like
thanks
there's no paid software that has the kind of support that xLights has.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah.
To be honest, there's no paid software that could afford the kind of help that you guys offer. Like no company is going to pay to have 3, 4, 5 guys hang out in a room just to help customers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you got all these guys doing it for free because they love the lights they do. They love the software they use. They want to have other people be successful, and they get nothing for it. And like, I don't know. I kind of feel like we need to figure something out. There needs to be like a prize thing, or I have no clue. I'm going to start thinking about this, but like the stuff that you guys do, being like, everybody needs to know like the sacrifice that you guys are doing just to help, and maybe you don't think it's a sacrifice or stuff, but you are taking time away from either working on your show or watching your favorite TV show or whatever,
Time is money and time is important. So you're right. It is a sacrifice to a degree, but it's a satisfaction as well, right? We trade time for things that satisfy us, and like that's what we do. And I will never ask for anything, but I tell you one thing that would help a lot is as new products come to the world, if there could be a program to kind of rotate a product into the hand of some of the active Zoom room helpers, because sometimes we may not ever get experience on something.
Yeah.
Example, Falcon B4s is just an example of a new controller that came out of the market last year, a year and a half, whenever they came out. And we didn't know that much about it. So people come in to help with us and are like, we don't know about this, but we learn quickly, right? We learn quickly. So if there's any kind of help from the community or any vendors on that, if they have some kind of product that's somewhat different, if there can be like a loaner kind of program to kind of rotate through the active helpers so we can actually get hands-on, kind of teach the trainer to train the trainer kind of thing, right? Yeah. That would be, I'd say that would be one thing that would be extremely helpful. There's a couple of Zoom room members, one particular I'll call out, Ryan Erickson up in Oregon, great helper, and another guy I kind of become friends through that method. And he did a whole lot of work with like Hinks pick stuff, right? So there was a community member that finally donated a Hinks picks for the betterment of the project. And he put together a nice little video on how to configure Hinks picks and long-range extensions and stuff like that in xLights, because that was just something that we didn't have a lot of first-hand experience in, because a lot of the people in that room don't run Hinks picks controllers. Yeah. So he was able to find one through other community members that donated, whatever, but he did a lot of time on kind of working up some documentation to help us help you kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so, that's just a thought of one thing that could even take this even further, if we can get the helpers to have experience on some of the new products that may or may not be coming to market, and then we can, test, beta test, evaluate, whatever, but also be able to help consumers once they get those products in their hands.
The only thing that I think, like, say if I were to send you my motorboards and stuff like that, I feel like it's a fine line of like getting free support for your product,
Agreed.
Or, it's one of those things where it's like, I think vendors also need to do their fair share of
support,
creating a support package that maybe they could give to you guys.
Right.
Or have something on their website. If somebody asks, you could pull it.
Sure.
So you guys don't have to try to figure out stuff on your own.
And that's what I'm really meaning. And I'm not trying to advocate or I'll never ask for anything, right? Because that's not what I'm interested in. But at least having the information available for us, like you said, create a support package, create the right documentation, maybe come into the Zoom room a little bit and talk about your products and maybe help a couple of people a little bit when you have it, right? And that would be helpful, because there are sometimes new products come on board and people reach out for help and they don't know where to go, right? That's one of the things is how do you reach your customer? Yeah.
I don't want ever to come across where like we're abusing you guys. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah. I don't want to ever be like, hey, I got something new here. I'll send it to you so you can figure out to tell people.
I promise you, we don't want to be abused either, right?
Yeah.
And if it would get to that point, I think you'll see a lot less people helping, and it'll become not what it is now. And that would be a downward spiral, not an upward spiral. We
definitely don't want to do that.
Don't want that.
Yeah. But vendors should maybe make, some videos, maybe not public videos. Maybe you don't want this video to go public, but maybe you make some videos on how your stuff works, some write up some instructions, stuff like that. Maybe instructions that the common person won't understand, but these guys will.
Yeah.
And you have a special link on your website where if these guys get a question about something, they could go on there and look it up if they feel like they want to help that particular person.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody should be sending you guys stuff and expecting you to know their stuff. It should be as somebody asked, you feel like you should help this person. I know where to go find this info to help them, I think
we do reference people to a lot of where we don't know. I don't use that. I don't have that experience. I don't, And keep in mind, if you are coming into the Zoom room, we are just other lighting enthusiasts like you guys. I mean, we don't have no inside track. There's no, when are controllers going to become available? None of us know that.
Don't go to the xLights room when a controller is going to come out.
So, I mean, we all know that we're struggling in supply chain. Even in my day job, every day we have struggle with supply chain. And we don't know that. We don't have any inside track other than what other people tell us when they come into the Zoom room. So be patient with us. We're just other lighting enthusiasts that feel like we want to get back to the community. We are not in kind of inside,
Yeah, they're not the guys building boards and stuff. They know how to make them work and do it. They ain't getting nothing from it.
No, and sometimes vendors get very busy. JR, I know you know this. Sometimes you're very tied up and very busy and all. And if somebody's reached out to you for a question about one of your products and all, we may not have the answer either. And if we reach out to you, we're going to get the same response that the other customer gets, right? So whether that's a day, 2 days, whatever it is, So we don't have any back channel communication or anything. It is what it is. But and Jared's been there. You come into the room regularly as well. I've seen you in there several times. I don't know about all the time. And
not too often. Just to be honest,
from time to time,
I jump in when I need help.
Yeah, and we'll give it to you. Battery running low.
Yeah, no, his battery to die. We're gonna lose Ron.
All right,
I'm not at home. Everyone's fine. I'm not at home. I'm actually at the girlfriend's house, and JR reached out to me, would you be willing to do this? And I said, absolutely. And I forgot to grab my plug-in charger. It's in the other room. But anyway.
It's all good.
Yeah, we're good.
This is great. I think this is good for everybody to learn and stuff. And I really appreciate it, Ron. Thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you for everything you do and everybody else in there.
Definitely. 100%. Thank you.
Let them know that this wasn't that bad, and they should definitely do it when we ask them.
Definitely. It's fun, and I enjoy it. And thank you very much for you're welcome for all the thank yous, but thank you for allowing me this avenue to kind of reach out and share a little bit about me and what we do and how we got to where we are.
Everybody knows who you guys are, Thank you so much.
They should at least appreciate that.
Know your full name and everything,
Yeah. I was going to do it.
Maybe know who else in that house is being put out because they're helping you, stuff like that.
So we could do something like this all the time, right? Where we
there you go.
the superhero look.
It's like, no, not that. Just hide behind the mask. We are the
man behind the mask.
Don't pay any attention to the man behind the wall.
Yeah, nobody knows who this person is.
Sorry.
But fun. Thank you, Ron. And
thank you guys for your time.
This is a great episode. So, Brian, are we ready for our new goodbye since you're not good at it?
I guess so. We're going to do lights out.
Oh, right. See ya.
That works.